Welcome to the Growth Lab podcast, the only B2B sales podcast with proven strategies, tools and tactics for selling in construction, FM and property management. I'm your host, Nick Harris, the creator behind the Growth. I needed more sales assets for prospecting, so I decided to focus on getting social proof from our business clients. I used two methods. One, a survey, getting feedback and testimonials. The first was a survey to get feedback and testimonials from existing clients. Check out edition 62 of the Growth Lab newsletter on Substack, where I explain why client surveys are essential for your business. The other option was getting case studies, a story outlining how Litter Service was the solution that helped transform a client's biggest problems into successful results. Don't sleep on case studies. They're powerful evidence to show how your business has helped other clients. Case studies show that your product or service really works. They add massive value to your sales and marketing activities. In this episode, we're going to break down the steps that I used to create Litter's first case study. Case studies are one of the 11 sales assets that you can effectively use for prospecting. Step 1, preparing for the case study. I created a Google Doc with a simple case study campaign outline, which you can access in the show notes. Then I created a list of case study questions using the BDA format. I divided the questions into 3 sections: before, during, and after using Litter Service. 4 questions helped to identify the challenge the client is facing and how they're trying to solve them. During questions, ask about the process of solving that challenge, and after questions are all about the results and what they meant to the client. I turned my question list into a Google form to capture the answers during my call with the client. You can access all the questions and the Google form via the link in the show notes. I also applied the BDA format to the structure of the case study. I created a case study template, which is divided into 3 sections. Challenge: what challenge or problems was the client facing before working with Litter? Solution: how and why did they decide to work with Litter? Results: what benefits have they experienced since working with Litter? Using this structure made it easy to apply the answers I received to the sections in the case study. Step 2, finding the right clients. I identified 2 criteria that a client had to meet in order to qualify as a case study candidate. 1, they needed to operate in target markets. 2, they need to have spent more than £10,000 with it in the last 12 months. 15 clients met these criteria. Next, I asked the COO to introduce me to the clients on the list. Once a client had confirmed that they were happy to participate, I sent a follow-up email to arrange a date for our call. I then sent a subsequent email to help prepare for the call. I sent a subsequent email where I attached a case study. To help prepare for the call, I also sent the case study questions in advance. All that was left was hosting the interview. I did this over Google Meet and completed the Google form with the answers whilst I was on the call. The tool I now use, which I wish I had then, is Otter AI, an AI meeting assistant. It takes meeting notes, transcribes calls, and creates automated summaries. The perfect companion for all video calls. Step 3, publishing the case study. Now the tricky part, writing the case study in the first instance. I had to turn all of my notes into an easy to follow narrative. Everything up to now took less than an hour to do. Writing the case study took me 10 hours over 3 days. To help with the writing, I used some case study examples which I've linked in the show notes. Once the first draft was ready, I sent it to the client for approval. After a handful of minor tweaks, the final draft was approved. The last step was working with the designer to make the case study. You can download the case studies I've created from my LinkedIn profile. Shoot me a connection request while you're there. You can also access the case study guide, email templates, case study questions, and Google Forms via the links in the show notes. That's all for this episode of the Growth Lab podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit that follow button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or hit that subscribe button on YouTube to get early access to future episodes. And if you want weekly B2B sales tips sent directly to your inbox, make sure you subscribe to the Growth Lab newsletter on Substack via the link in the show notes, where you can also access all of the free resources that I've mentioned previously on the podcast and in this episode. Until next time, stay grinding.